This is a little follow-up to the last video I did, covering the last couple of weeks and the peak week and all that, some of the mishaps that can happen, or adjustments, or whatever you want to call them, that you might think you have to make. First thing is, people worry about the weight. That's their main concern. Am I going to make weight? Am I going to make weight? Is he going to be over? Is he going to be too light? Like that. The problem with that way of thinking is you can make adjustments that can hurt the dog. You start porking the feed to them, you start cutting the feed back, or you start not giving them any water at all, or something like that. You want them dry like that. But it's not good. You have to think health-wise. Is it healthy to do that? Is it healthy to bloat your dog up a couple of days prior to the show with food? Is it healthy to cut back on the water so much where now he's dehydrated? Not dried out, but dehydrated. So I always maintain that the dogs, they're going to come in at the weight they're going to come in at, and they do that naturally. And I would say the biggest discrepancy I ever had was 1 pound under, naturally, not because of they got sick, not sick, but maybe they puked on the way to the show or something, or they go off their feed or something like that. People will still do dogs as they do. Some dogs won't eat, and you got to force feed them or give them liquid instead of solid food or something like that. Stuff like that happens with the dogs, But just coming down naturally, that was the biggest discrepancy I think I ever had. I was 1 pound under. The dog won. It was Bill, his first match. I did him at 44. He came in at 43. He was strong as a bull. Had a good opponent. Got his muzzle messed up, but he persevered and dominated most of the whole way. He was on his feet the whole time. The main damage was on his muscle. The dog had bit into his muscle and into through the skin and into his muzzle. There was a hole in there afterwards when we're doing our medical stuff, And but it didn't interfere with his performance. And even after that show was over, we always put our dogs up inside, usually in our main bedroom, master bedroom. He was running the walls, man. I had to crate him up because usually I just let them loose. They feel comfortable. They're used to that space. That's our home. That's our private area, and they would just kick back. Angie really didn't like them on the bed, but she had sheets just for the dog. If blood get on there, they could lay on our bed if they wanted to lay on the bed. Or they would, some of them, would lay in the crate. Most of them did it. They'd lay on the rug or on the bed, so they don't get all that mess all over everything. He didn't do that, man. He was running the wall. He was trying to open the door and, running around and wouldn't settle down, And that's just because he was in good shape. So I had enough, but I was cognizant enough to know that, man, I'm not going to mess with his weight. He's coming down, and he was underweight, again, 3 days before the show. That's what it was. I accepted it, didn't try to adjust it. And that's what people do a lot, is they start messing with it. It can throw them off, throw their metabolism off, throw their bowel movement off, throw their mind off, dry them out and all that, The whole thing should go as smooth as possible. There's always little mishaps here and there. You have to adjust a little bit here and there. But if it's drastic, that's not good. And the dogs will come down to weight naturally. A lot of people will tell you that, I think he's a 41. Okay, whatever I do and if somebody else works them or I work them, they come down to that 41. That's their natural conditioned weight. So they will naturally do that. Even under different feed, different type of conditioner, different conditioning methods, And sometimes the dogs, they may seem a little off, So you might give them that extra day of rest. That's where I say 2 or 3 days. It just depends on the dog, So they might need that extra rest. And some people, and I've done this too, Maybe they seem a little, they need a little boost, or maybe they have a little upset stomach. Sometimes they'll cough up some phlegm or something like that. Right before the show. Whether it's nervousness or whether it's something in their stomach, or they're just a little bit down or something. You can give them carbonated water. That'll settle their stomach. Could have been the ride messed them up a little bit, even though they're used to traveling. Sometimes you're going up and down mountains, or you're going up mountains, or you're here or there. The road is not smooth. You're going this and that. You're stopping, going. People that have done it know what I'm talking about. There's all kinds of things that happen on the way. They take you here and you go there and you stop here and wait. Then you got to go again and drive here and there, all that stuff. So it might upset their stomach a little bit of carbonated water. Maybe they need their spirits lifted a little bit. You can give them a little B12 shot, under the skin, so it doesn't hurt them. It'll lift them up. A little bit of honey, that helps. That's not going to do anything to the weight, but it perks them up, like that. Sometimes, if you get there early enough, give them a bath, cold bath, the warm bath, switch back and forth like that. Helps relax their muscle, helps them relax, might help them sleep better that night. Put them in cold water than warm water and they relax or whatever. There's different things that you can do. But the main point of this is don't get frantic, don't panic, because what you feel, the dog's going to feel, especially when you put their hands on them. You're going to give off that vibe. And if you're nervous, you're not confident, even if you are, don't let the dog see it. Don't be around the dog that much if you're feeling that way. But if you can control your emotions, control your body, the way it reacts, your movements, all that, and you're relaxed and confident, the dog will be relaxed and confident as well, because like I said, the last few days, you just want them feeling loose, feeling good, feeling confident, feeling focused, mental stability, that good attitude, that kind of stuff. You want the dog to maintain that. That's another reason you don't do too much to him. You could conceivably work a dog, if he's used to it, up until the day before the show, and some people have done that because the dog is used to doing that anyways. So that when you go to the show and do it the next day after he's had a workout the day before, it's just kind of normal for him. I understand that concept, but I just didn't like doing that because I wanted them for at least a couple of days to be relaxed and loose and feeling good and get their mind together, and they're waiting for something to happen and waiting for something to happen. So when that something does happen, they come out the gate like a bull trying to kill a matador, They just on point. And that's where those words come from, on point, peaked at the highest level. And you want to try and catch them the day of the show where they're peaked as much as they're going to be peaked. And that will allow them to go the distance, help allow them to go the distance. The conditioning has everything to do with it too. But that will help them to go the distance, whatever that distance is. Short, long, real long, whatever. They're ready to go. Because again, in that sense, they don't have a time clock in their head. They don't know that it's 15 minutes. They don't know it's 30 minutes. They don't know it's an hour. They don't know it's 2 hours, 3 hours. They just going through the motion, doing what they do, trying to finish their opponent. That could be a long time. But you want to hit them on the peak right before you let them go so that they're able to do that. Having them peak too early is not good, and some people, they don't really understand the concept of that, You could have done them 2 or 3 days early, right? But mentally, that's not what you set them up for. You could have them peaked for a few days, but again, health-wise, mentally, that's not good for them. to hold it that long, because it's going to go through a cycle where now they're going to be worn out 2 or 3 days later if you had them peak 2 or 3 days before. That's the concept, to catch them right when it's time to go. And doing those workouts like that on time, and sometimes that has to be adjusted too, but it's just the fact that you're going through the same process. Emptying out, loosening up, go to work, cool down, rub down, feed, rest. That process is what gets them on time in their mind to do what they're going to do. You don't want to adjust that a lot either if you can help it. Sometimes you have to, it just depends. But you want to keep all that to a minimum. You don't want to change the feed or the supplements that much or at all if you can help it. That's what puts them on time as well. You don't want your dog drinking a lot of water or being so thirsty 2 days before, a day before the day of the show, where they just want to drink water. You're off then. They're totally off. They should not do that. They should not want water. Their body is supposed to be prepared so that they're not thirsty. Their blood count is high. Their hydration is good. Their bowel movements were good. Their digestion is proper. Like that. So this is just a little follow-up to, and again, in modern times, this could be for weight pull, this could be for treadmill race, hang time, wall climb, all that. Because I have been to shows where the dogs during the day, during the process of doing the weight pull and all that, they empty out, they dump. They shouldn't do that. That's not good. That means they had something in their intestines and their bowels while they were competing earlier in the day. Now, it's not too bad if they piss during the day, but have a bowel movement during the day while you're doing the competition, I don't think that's good. I don't think that should happen. It's like working out or doing an event, a human sports event or something. You got to take a dump. That's not good. During the event, that's not good. So just be cautious of that, of adjusting too much, If you have your keep set up, if you're experienced, you know all this. But if not, if you're practicing or you're trying to learn, have a keep how you want it to go set up. And you may have friends, you may have partners, you may go online and you may get advice from me or anybody else or whoever, Keep that information as far as using it to a minimum. Don't start listening to a lot of people. I do this, I take the protein away and I take the supplements away or I give them more, I load them up, carbo load or whatever, this and that. If your keep has told you to do that, or you've practiced it and you've tried that and it worked for you, then fine, do that. But if it's something that you haven't thought of doing, or something that is not in your keep and someone tells you to do it, don't do it. I would advise you not to do it, because unless you practice it, you don't know what the effects are going to be. And one little thing, like I've said in other videos, something could go wrong. It could be 100 things, and it's usually more than one, but it can be one thing that just throws you off, throws your dog off. One tiny little thing that you hadn't done before, that you hadn't planned before, that you haven't tried before, and you try it, and your dog messes up. At the very least, 2 things can happen from that. You could say, I did something that I never did before. I tried something new, and my dog was screwed up. Or because you never tried it before, because you never changed that before, you don't know if it's that. It could be something totally different and not that. So I suggest you don't change too much. you stick to the plan, do your keep the way it goes, and if it comes out right, you did it right. If it comes out wrong, then you have to find out what went wrong and adjust that. And that's the reason why you don't want to change. It's on the fly. If you're changing like that, it's hard to tell, was it that or was it something else? If you didn't change it, anything at the last minute, or you didn't make these drastic adjustments at the last minute, then you know it's not that, it's something else. So you're taking that out of the equation. It's not because I gave them more food. It's not because I took their water away. It's not because I gave them more supplements or gave them less supplements or cut the protein or something like that. And like I said, if that's what your keep tells you to do, you cut back on the iron, or you cut back on the protein, or you cut back on the carbs, or you give them more carbs, or you give them more protein and less fat and whatever, then do it that way. But don't change it last minute. You know, don't try and hurry up and fix something if it's kind of broken and you can see your dog listless or whatever. You know, you do that earlier in the week, you may give them more rest. That could help them. But if you you know, the dog is off or something like that, you know, and you can't make a small adjustment to fix it, like another day of rest, or you know, like I said, the carbonated water, or a little bit of honey, or B12 shot or something like that, you know, then don't do it. You know, don't get all drastic. Those are little things. That's not going to affect. You even give them a tablespoon of honey. That's not going to hurt them. You give them a little bit of B12 to perk them up. That's not going to hurt them. You know, that's not. You cut back the last day. You cut the feed in half or 3/4 of it, or you just giving them. Let's say you use kibble and food. You cut the kibble out and just give them the food part. That's not going to hurt them. That's not going to hurt them. They're still going to have a bowel movement, you know. But you start, you know, I'm not going to feed them the last day. I'm not going to let them have any water for 3 days. That's not good, you know. Oh, he's half a pound under. I'm going to give him a pound more of food, or I'm going to give him a half a pound more of food. That's not good either. That could throw their bowels off, you know. So this was just a video to try to cover some of the mishaps that might happen, but it's more of, you know, don't panic. Don't panic and try to make adjustments. And don't listen to a lot of people tell you this and that, The time to listen to those people is beforehand, or way beforehand, before you even start a keep, before you even develop a keep. That's when it's time to listen to others. Or after the event is over, and then you can talk about what happened, and maybe this will help you and that would help you. But the week before, the peak week before the show, that's not the time to listen to drastic measures, or a lot of people telling you a lot of things. It could be one person, a close friend who knows, really experienced, and he tells you something that will help. That's okay. Listen to that. But what I've noticed is a lot of times this guy tells you that, and this guy tells you another thing. No, don't do this. Yeah, you got to do that, and you should have done this, and you should do that, and the last day do this, and another guy tells you, no, don't do that, do this. You know, that's what those drive you crazy. You know, who do I listen to? Don't listen to none of them. Do what you think is right. See if it works, and as you do that more and more, you can get help from other people. But always test it. My stuff too. Always test it. I've said that 1,000,000 times, and I'll say it 1,000,000 more before I leave this earth. Test everything that you do. You know, it's just like workouts. You know, people, they like to work their dogs hard, work them into the ground. You know, and the argument I get back is, Richard, you got to see that stress. You got to see them pushed to the limit. You know, and I tell them, you're right. But I'm not going to push them to the limit 100% during a keep. That is going to happen way before I ever put a dog in condition. I'm going to stress him out and have him puke his guts and push him hard, whether it's in a row or a workout or during the day, or taking them out, running them here and there, or let them dig for 2 hours, way before I even match them, put them in a show. That's where I'm going to see their natural stress limits. That's where I'm going to push them hard and find out what the dog is made of. I don't have to kill them in a keep, because kill them in parentheses. I don't have to kill them in a keep, because I already did that prior to that, during their life. That's incremental too. That's progressive too, little by little. Okay, I push the dog like that, whether it's in a roll or whether it's in a workout, and then I'm going to push him more. I'm going to push him harder. I'm going to see where he's at. I'm going to see where his heart is. I'm going to see where his mind is. See where his focus is, his intensity, way before I ever hooked him up. So that way I know what my dog is capable of. I'm not going to find that out and kill him during a keep and burn them out and push them so hard where they're played out and they're done before I even step in that square. That don't make sense to me. So that's when I did it, and that's why I tell people, what I tell them. I'm not going to work my dogs crazy like that. Well, how are you going to know what their limits are? I already know. I found out last year. I found out 6 months ago. And I find out throughout their life what their limits are and how hard to push them. And when I push them past that point, I got to see that too. You got to see that with any athlete. But I didn't want to do it during a workout where I'm putting his life on the line for the show, and I'm putting my money on the line for the show, and I'm putting my reputation, the dog, and my, where me caring for the dog should be the main focus rather than beating them up and killing them in a workout during a keep. I'm going to beat them up way before that. And I don't mean this in a derogatory way, and I don't mean it in a cruel way, and I don't mean it where I'm hurting the dog. That's why those limits are tested incrementally. Okay, dog will do this. Okay, dog will do that. For instance, Clayton Blood. I could roll him in the middle of the summer out in the heat against any dog for 30, 40 minutes. He took it, nothing, never took a breath. He just had that natural air and that natural metabolism and pace and all that, where it would tax him, but it didn't kill him. So I had to find other ways to see where his heart was. And I did that too. But as far as natural air and trying to put it, didn't matter if he was a little overweight, didn't matter if it was hot, didn't matter if he was the smaller dog, this and that. He really didn't hardly ever take a breath. Same thing as matches, hour 39, 2:43. He was never off his feet for more than a second or two. Or, in my mind, that's the way it looked anyway. Standing on all fours at 2 hours and 43 minutes. Still screaming in the corner, still scratching hard. Never ran out of air. Smart, fast, all that. Other dogs with different styles or different ways of doing their thing, you got to push them a different way. And you can do it in a workout way before you ever, put them in a keep, You can push them hard. You can push them hard on the mill. Go take a dog that's a little bit overweight or relatively overweight in the summertime, throw him on a treadmill. See how he does. See if you don't blow out in 5 minutes, 10 minutes. That's where you see a lot of times where the heart is, when they're hot, where they can't breathe. If I would do that, which I have, let them run that mill, encourage them. Not like I would in the keep. I'm pushing them now. Long run, straight 10 minutes, sprint, boom. 5 minutes, sprint, boom, 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 where they're breathing hot. Take them out and face them up. That's what I would do. See how they act. Do a workout. Take them out all day long when we're with the kids. Let them run around, dig holes. They're messing around all day long. I tell them, go get this, chase a ball. The kids play with them. The kids don't know hey, he needs rest, he's breathing heavy. No. They push him, get it. And the dog loved the kids, the dog loved chasing the ball, or the dog loved swimming, or the dog loved digging for squirrels, like that. The kids are going to make them do that all day. If the kids are out there for 2, 3, 4, 5 hours, break for lunch, go out and play again, and whatever, run here, run there, the dog's going to do it too. And when the kids take a break, the dog, sometimes he don't take a break. They'll just sit there and watch him, kick back and watch him. Oh, he's digging for squirrel, look at him. And he's digging, he don't stop. When he can't get something, or he gets something out of that, he goes to another hole. You can push him, and you can do different things. Like I said, I did that in schooling too. A lot of stuff people didn't do, and a lot of things that people didn't think of. But I wanted to see. And that's why I say I didn't work them 100%. In their keep. I saved that for the show. But it doesn't mean I didn't tax them and test them way before that. So, this is a little video, don't panic the last week. Like I said, even if it's legal sports, all that stuff I'm talking about, that's way in the past. That's 40 years ago. I'm not telling anybody to do that now. But there are people that have hunting hog dogs. And I've been with those guys too. And they do the same thing, man. They'll run them in the heat, run them hogs in the heat to see how the dog does. I've seen them do that and get in a shock. They got to take the dog that's in shock and put them in a pig trough full of water just to cool them down, man. But they have to be able to push their dogs too, because they get in some touchy situations. And the dogs coming out of the wintertime, they're kind of heavy. So they do that. They run them to bring their weight down. And they tax them and test them, because hogs can kill them. And the same thing, like I said, legal sports, weight pool, treadmill race, If you're doing a treadmill race and you have not taxed your dog beyond what you consider his 100% limit, then you don't know where the dog stands. Because a treadmill race, just like weight pool, it's not just one time they go out there and do the event. Depending on how many dogs there are, they could do it a few times, or they could do it all day long. Or start in the evening. I've been there where they start in the afternoon, and then they're doing these weight pools all the way to the next morning, 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning before they finish. They could have been out there, because there's a lot of dogs, for 8, 10 hours. Doing the weight pool. Go do your pull, put them up. Go do your pull, put them up. And then it goes round robin like that. And then less and less and less. So when it gets less and less dogs, you're actually doing more weight pulls after you've done a lot of weight pulls previously that day. So even with that, the dog has to be taxed. You got to know where he's at. You got to know where his mind's at. You got to know what his body limitations are. And if he can go past what you think those limitations are, how does he act? How does he behave? If he acts like a bulldog, you're good. If he doesn't, then maybe that's not the one to use for weight pool. And in my day, that wouldn't be the one for me to condition. So again, another vid. Hope it helps. Love the feedback. All the sales, and thanks for your donations, all that stuff, man. We'll see you guys on them chats, and we have that Patreon, and I'll do more videos. They're going to keep going and going. I really appreciate the feedback. I get a lot of love from people, man, and I repeat it over and over again because it's constant, and it's humbling to me, and I don't have an ego, but I appreciate it. I could say thank you a million times. You might get tired of hearing it, but I'm not going to get tired of saying it. That's just the way I was brought up. You got to have respect for people, and you got to appreciate people, and you got to appreciate the time you're here. So I love doing it, and more on the way. Thanks.